Hello, Tech Edinam fans. Welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to use the Get WebElements and some other keywords to delete the employees we have registered into the database. But first, let me quickly recap what we learned in the previous video. That is the loops. So let me go to the mylist.robot file. Yeah, so I deleted where we left off from this file. So loops are constructs that help us repeat a block of code. So if we want a set of code or a block of code we want to repeat n number of times, we need to use a loop. So loops are not only for lists, they are just ways to help us access the elements in the list. So that is one use case. There are other use cases. So let's start with the for loop, the for in range. So as I explained from the previous video, it accepts two arguments, the start, the end, and an optional steps. So this is not necessary for our use case. So suppose we want to log the numbers between 1 and 100 inclusive. If we don't use loops, then we are going to type it manually. So let me delete this first. So let's say I want to log numbers 1 to 100 on the screen. I'll have to type the log, type 1, log 2, log 3, log 4, and so on. It has already taken me about 10 to 20 seconds. 5, log 6, and so on. That takes a lot of time. So in place of this, we have the loops. So the for in range loop. Let's remove the optional steps. And now let's put the end where we want it to end. We want to display 1 to 100. So then let's make it 101. And then the start will be 1. Now let's log. We can log the counter. So let's see how many seconds it uses. So let's see. So robot, and then the tag, and then the output directory, and then the name of the file itself. So let's see what happens. Yes, so it passes. So let's check the log. Yes, so it used no time at all. I think that would be like 31 milliseconds or something like that. So let's try to 1000 and see how many seconds that one takes. Yeah, almost immediately it passes. That one uses this amount of milliseconds, but it is still considered 0 seconds because the elapsed is 000. So more or less no time passed. Let's check 10,000. Still running. Yeah, it passed. That one took 3 seconds. So it has displayed numbers 1 to 10,000 in 3 seconds. That would have taken me, I don't know, maybe an hour or two to do. As you can see, a loop ensures that we run a block of code multiple times in a short time as compared to doing it manually. So in general, if you have something repeating, you have to use the loops. If it's only once, then there's no need. But if it has to repeat a number of times, you just have to use the loop. So just with 3 lines of code, we have been able to display the numbers between 1 and 1000 and 10,000, sorry, in what, 30, was it? Yeah, in 3 seconds. So 3 lines, 3 seconds. That's very optimal and efficient as compared to this one, login 1, log in to, I think each one takes me about 2 seconds to type. Yeah, so those are loops for you, and we are going to be using the for loop in the deletion. There are a few ways we can delete the employees from the database. We can use the get web elements and other keywords. So for now, let me show you how to use the get web elements, and then I'll continue with the other ones as well. So let's move to the register employees robot file. So this is where we left off, and we still have the employees registered. So what do we want to do? We want the robot to click these buttons, these delete buttons on our behalf. If I click this now, it's going to delete, but that's doing it manually. But we want to check if the delete buttons are working by using the robot framework. So let's check what criteria we can use for the locator. So we have the delete button. So let's see. So let's say we are looking for a button with a text of delete. So we have 5 elements matching. And as you can see, all the delete buttons have IDs. We have the delete, and then this is the social security number, and then UUID, generated ID for us. So we can either use the ID or use the text on the delete button. So the ID would be much useful when you want to delete a specific employee. But first, let's try out the text and see. So the button, the text delete, and it says it has 5 elements matching. So we can use the get web elements to grab these buttons from the page to help us delete them, to help the robot framework delete them for us. So let's go, and before the employees are registered, we have to delete them so there are no duplicates. So let's say delete employees with a test case. Then we can give it the documentation. Let's say this test case deletes the employees, deletes all the employees. And then let's give it a tag. Let's say delete all. And what do we want to do? We are going to use the get web elements. Get web elements. So get web elements requires a locator. So that will be the XPath, and then this locator. Yes, so we are telling the delete employees test case to grab any button it sees on the page using the get web elements keyword. But this might fail because it might not be these buttons might not be on the page when this test case runs. So what do we do? Wait until element is visible. So XPath, and then let's wait for about 10 seconds. Yes, so it waits until any button with the text delete is visible on the page, and then it moves to this get web elements keyword. So let's see. It says returns a list of web element objects matching the locator. So it returns a list. So it returns a list, meaning we have to store the value. So let's name it delete BTNS buttons. And let's do it this way. Yes, so it's going to wait until the delete buttons are on the page, and then it grabs them using the get web elements. And then let's log them to the screen and see how it goes. So Now let's run that test case. So I delete all, and then the output directory logs, and then the file to run that to be the register employees. So let's see. Yes. So it passed. Yeah, so this is the delete employees. It's run because we ran that tag. So delete all. And it's only one test case. That's why the total is one. One passed, zero failed. And it took 7 seconds. So let's see. So it grabbed the delete button from here using the Get WebElements from the Selenium library. And then it logs them on the screen. So these are the elements, the delete buttons on the page. As you can see, these are not really easy to understand, but it's in a list. So we have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that matches the 5 elements over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now that we have the buttons, now the problem is we don't know how many buttons are in this list. All we know is it has grabbed some buttons, but we don't know how many buttons are there. So what do? We have another keyword, get length. So it says returns and logs the length of the given item as an integer. So get length returns the value, the length of a given variable, so to say. So we can just pass in the delete buttons, and it's going to give us the number of items in that list. So the number of buttons in that list. So we can store the length in a length variable like this. Yes. So now we can log the length as well. So let's run it again and see. Yes, so it passed. The length is 5, which is matching this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's continue from there. So now we want to click this button, this button, this button, this button, and this button. So what do we have to do? We need the loop for that, because of course we can hard code the 5, but what if it changes to 2 or 3 or it goes to 10? So the number may differ depending on the use case. So we can't hard code it. So we use the loop to do it. So which means this is dynamic. So even if it's one item on the one delete button on the page, it's going to grab only one, and then the length will be 1. So now we can use the for in range. Let's look at I. So for in range, and the lists are 0 indexed. So we can start from 0, and then the length of the list. And now what do we want to do? We want to click the button. So we have what? Click element. So these are the actual buttons, delete buttons. So we have to click them one after the other. So we reference the list itself, and then the index. That is I. So for the first time, it's going to click the first delete button, second time, and so on. So it's going to end at 4 because the length is 5. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because the 4 in range ends at this length minus 1. So let's see what happens. If there is an error, we just fix it. Those are part of the learning process. So let's see. Let's run again and see. Yeah, so as you can see, deleted I think 3 of them, and something failed. So let's see. Let's refresh. Yes, so 3 of them were deleted. Two, 3 of them were deleted. 2 remained. Let's see. This is the error message. So as you can see, it passed the first time, second time, third time. The fourth time it failed. That's it. When I was 3, it says what? Still element reference, still element not found. And I have a guess why this is happening, because I'm using react.js, and anytime someone is deleted or an employee is deleted, this component refreshes, but you don't see it. You can't see with the naked eye. It refreshes. So it creates a new, let's say, session. So these IDs, the previous ones we got from here had more or less expired. So it's trying to delete these two, but they are no more, even though they are on the page, they are no more referenced by this. So they are no more found in this list. So that is why that's happening. It has nothing to do with the page not working. The delete buttons are working, but it's just because it is refreshing. But because it's not doing a full page refresh, you don't see it happening. But this component, this table component, is refreshing anytime an employee is deleted. So that is the meaning of this error. Still element not found. So we can use another method to do this. There are so many ways you can achieve, let's say, the deletion. If one way doesn't work, you need to try the other way. So this is also part of the learning process. I didn't know this was going to happen, but yes, so it happened. So it's our job to try other means to make it work. So now that this did not work, let's check the next one. Let me delete this tag. Let me just make it delete, and let's use a different one. Let's see if that one works. Delete employees. Let's say 2. So documentation, use the employees, and then now let's give the tags. Let's say delete all. I changed the tag, so this does not run anymore. So let's see. So we still have only 2 employees. Yes, so now we have 5 employees again. So let's see. So we still have 5 elements matching. Okay, so let's see if we can use another criteria to do the deletion. Okay, so we are going to use the same criteria, this one. Let's copy that. Let's go to the delete employees 2 and wait until element is visible. Export this. Let's wait for 10 seconds. Yes, so now this one waits until the delete buttons are visible on the page. So there's another keyword, get element count. Let's see what that one says. Returns the number of elements matching the locator, meaning it's going to return this number 5. So it's not going to return as compared to the get web elements. The get web elements return the buttons themselves, whilst this one returns the number, only the 5. So with the get web element, we have to go further to get the length as well. Get the length of the web element. So this more or less, this get element count more or less gets you the length directly. So let's see how that one works. And hopefully that one actually works. No failures this time. So get element count. So we are getting the elements that match this delete this criteria. Like we are getting the element that match this criteria, the buttons that have the text of delete. So still we have to store, let's store the count in the count folder, count variable, sorry, not folder. So now we would have the 5. So let me run it and see. if we have the 5. Yes, so it passed. We also have the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 employees. So let's see the count. They have count to be 5. Okay, so let's go back to PyCharm. Yeah, so now we have 5. So what do we want to do? Once again, therefore in range, let's use I 0, and then the count. Then we don't need the optional steps. So what do we want to do? We want to click delete buttons 5 times. So what do you have to do? Click element, and that should be it. Let me sleep for a second so we see what is going on. Actually, let me bring it before the first deletion so we see what is happening. Yeah, so when this delete employees 2 test case runs, it's going to wait until the delete buttons are on the page. It's to wait for 10 seconds. And then if they appear, it grabs the number of elements that match this criteria or this locator. And it's going to store that number in the count variable. And then we are going to use the for loop to click them. So for I in range 0 to count. So those will be 5, but it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 because the for in range ends at the count minus 1. Then in the block, it's going to sleep for 1 second and delete the one button with the text delete, and then it's going to do it again. So it's going to do it 5 times. So let's run it and see. Hopefully they are deleted. Let's see. Delete, 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 delete. There we go. So that one works because unlike this one, unlike the get web elements, is just deleting any button with a text delete. So it doesn't matter if the page refreshed or not. It's still going to delete it because we still have the button, the text delete on the page. But this one, because it's used some sessions behind the scenes, refreshing the page changes the session. So those buttons are deemed not to be on the page anymore. So you can try either of them. The one that works for your use case, you can use them, but the error that occurred is just once in a blue moon thing. The get web element should get you what you want anyway. And the get element count also does the same. But now let's run it again and see what happens. The error that is going to appear. And I'm guessing you already know why it's going to fail. Yes. Straight away, there's an error. Yes. Element with a expert blah 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 not visible after 10 seconds. It is waiting until the element is visible, but it's not visible because we don't have any employees registered. So that is how we can use the get web elements or the get element count together with the for loop to delete stuff from the page. Thank you for watching this video, and please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share because more content is coming. See you in the next one.